Okay, fine. The recording has started. And yeah, thank you for the confirmation. Now I'm going to disable the chat section. Okay. In our last class, we have discussed about, we have just started the object-oriented programming concept. And we have seen basics like creating a class and creating objects. We have seen all those things in our last class. Now, in our today's class, we are going to continue our session on object-oriented programming. And we are going to discuss a lot of interesting and amazing concepts today. Okay, so first, let me create a new folder here called as day 23. So inside this folder, I'm going to open VS Code. So let me create a new folder here called as constructor.py. I'm sorry, new file. What is this constructor? Don't worry, we are going to discuss about constructor only today. So first, let me select the interpreter. So in our last class, we have seen how to create a class and object, right? So quickly, let me create a class called as. So now let us create a class called phone. All right. Now inside this phone class, I am having some of the methods like def show color. Okay, show color is my method, and by default, it will take a parameter called self, and it will print color is red, something like that. Okay, I'm not taking any parameter or argument from the user. Okay, I'm just taking self, and we know the meaning of the self, right? So the self is pointing to our current object. Okay, so first let me create an object quickly here. So here my object is Redmi. Most of the people use this Redmi phone, right? So Redmi. Now this Redmi is an object which belongs to my phone class. And similarly, let me create again another object called as like iPhone. And this iPhone is also an object of phone class. Fine. Now we know that if I say Redmi dot show color, now if I run this, of course I will get output as color is red. So as I am not taking any parameter in the function definition, I am not passing anything in the function call. Okay. Now there is one parameter called self, and we know that this self is a parameter which is referring to my current object. So when I call redmi.showColor, what will get stored in the self? So redmi will get stored in the self. Okay, all right. So we know this concept till now. Now we are going to discuss about constructor. So if you are from Java background, then you may already know the meaning of constructor. So for all the people who are learning Python for the first time, I mean, for all the people for whom Python is the first programming language which they are learning, so I will again explain from the scratch. Okay, so constructor is nothing but a special method. Okay, what does that mean, special method? So what comes to your mind when I say special method? We already discussed about special variable, right? So we discussed about underscore underscore name underscore underscore. I told you that it is a special variable. Now, as I am saying that constructor is a special method, here also we will have two underscores before the method name and two underscores after the method name. Okay, so that's a funny question. And now let us see the actual definition of the constructor. Okay, so here the main point is I am creating an object called Redmi, right? So the code present inside my constructor will get automatically when I create the object. So first let me write that, and also I will show you with the example so that you will clearly understand. While telling the definition for the first time, you may find somewhat difficulty in understanding. Okay, it is completely fine. I will show you with the help of example. Just hang on for a few minutes. You will clearly understand the concept of constructor. Okay, so constructor is a special method, and the code present inside constructor will get executed automatically when we create a object. So again, I am not taking this definition anywhere from the internet or textbook. So this is my own definition. You can follow this, or either you can refer Google. Fine. So now we know the meaning of constructor. So constructor is a special method, and if it is method means what is meant by method? It is function, right? So method is also known as function. So in case of object-oriented programming, we call function itself as method, and we know a lot about function. So again, I don't have to explain all those things. So here the point is the code present inside this constructor method will get automatically executed whenever we create a object. Okay, we don't have to call that method. Automatically the code present inside that method will get executed. So here, in order to execute the code present inside this show color method, I need to call that method. You can see here at line number 9, I am calling show color method. Whereas in case of constructor, I don't have to call it. Automatically the code present inside that method will get executed whenever I create a object. So now let us see how it will work. So as I told you that it is a special method, and the name of that method is init. Okay, the syntax is def, because we use def for defining methods and functions. So both are exactly same words, but now from now onwards, I am going to use methods. Okay, so underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So this is the name of our special method called constructor. Okay, after this name, of course, we will have parenthesis, and inside this self is a default parameter. Okay, now in the below line, we will have some code which will belong to our constructor. Okay. So this is the syntax for defining a constructor. Now let us define our own constructor. So here def init else. Here I am going to print, or let me say constructor executed. Okay. That thing. Let's keep it simple. Let me comment out line number 15 also. I am not calling show color method now. All right. So here we have a special method called init. So now whenever I create a object, automatically the code present inside this method will get executed. So on the output screen, what am I going to get? I will get constructor executed as the output. Why? Because there is a simple print function present inside this init method. All right. So let me run this code. So you can see here, we have two objects at line number 13 and line number 14. Our two objects are Redmi and iPhone. So whenever I run this code, the code present inside my constructor will get executed two times. Why? Because I am creating two objects. So on the output screen, I am going to get output as constructor executed as twice. Okay. Now if I run this, you can see here I got the desired output. I got constructor executed two times. Okay. That's the point here. So what is happening here? I am not calling this init method. You can see I am just creating an object and I am not calling this init method. It is automatically getting executed. So that's the thing about constructor. Okay, I hope you clearly understood what is meant by constructor. But the definition is simple. It is a special method. The code present inside constructor will get executed automatically when we create an object. We don't have to call it externally. Automatically, the code present inside it will be executed. And also, the name of that special method is init, and as I am saying that it is a special method, there should be two underscore before and after our method name. And we know what is this self. So this self is referring to my current object. So while executing line number 13, self is referring to Redmi object. All right, we know this point, right? So fine. Now let us discuss about variables. So one of our students asked me to explain about namespaces in Python. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about namespaces, and previously we have seen about local variables and global variables, right? So when if a variable is present outside a function, it is called as global variable. And similarly, if a variable is present inside a function, then it is called as local variable. We know this concept. Again, here we have two different types of variables. They are class variables and instance variables. So now we are going to discuss deeply about these class variables and instance variables. Okay, first, what is meant by namespace means? So in simple terms, I can say that namespace are the area where our variables get stored. Okay, that's the basic definition. So it is the area where our variable gets stored. Now we already know about global variables and local variables. Now newly we are going to discuss about instance variables and class variables. So we can call these class variables as static variables also. Again, believe me, the definition will be very simple and the concept is even more simpler than the definition. Okay. So instance variables, and we can also call it as instance. What is meant by instance? We discussed about this term yesterday, right? So instance is nothing but object. So we can call them as object variables also. So first, what is this class variable? The variable is present inside a class. That's it. So here, suppose if I have a variable like type, and I am creating here a class called phone, right? So here the type of my phone will be touch. Okay, it makes sense. Now, this variable type is called as a class variable. Why? Because in simple terms, it is present inside a class. And also we can call them as static variables. So here the main point which you should remember is this variable will be, the value of this variable will be same for all the objects. Okay. No matter I create how many objects, even Redmi, iPhone, OnePlus, Realme, whatever phone, whatever object I create, so the value of this type variable will be same for all the objects. So that's the point here. If you want to print the value of type variable, then simply you can say int. We can also print this with the help of class name. So my class name is phone, right? I can simply say phone dot type. That's it. As this type is a variable name here, it is not a method name. Okay, type is a variable name, so you don't have to mention parentheses. Now, if I run this, you can see here I got output as touch. First two times I got output as constructor executed. Why? Because I am having a print function here inside my init. So it is getting executed first. And after that, at line number 25, I am printing phone.type. So type is my variable name here, which is a static variable. So if I say phone.type, I got output as touch. Now, can we access this type variable with the help of object? Of course, we can do that. I can say print readme.touch. I'm sorry, type. So if I run this, you can see here again I got the output as touch. And similarly, I can say iPhone.touch. So you can see here again I got output as iPhone.type. So I am getting output as touch. So it is fine. Now think of this. Suppose type is okay. Nowadays, almost all phones are touch only. So it is okay, fine. What if I say color? Color varies from phone to phone, right? And also in Redmi itself, there are multiple colors like white, red, blue, etc. So it can be a class variable. If I say color equal to blue, then it will be blue for all the phones. It will be blue for all the objects. So it is not fine. So here I need some special type of variables. So those variables are called as object variables or instance variables. So these variables are, the first point is these variables are present inside our constructor. Or else in Python, you can say init method. So in Java, we use this term constructor. In Python, we usually say init method only. But some, in case if the interviewer is asking, explain about constructor in Python, then you should say that so constructor is a special method. Automatically, the code present inside the constructor will get executed whenever we create an object, and it can be defined using init. So like this, you have to answer them. Then they will get satisfied. Okay, here now we are discussing about object variables, right? So these variables are present inside our constructor. So which means these variables are going to present in this init method. Okay, so now can we pass arguments inside this parenthesis? So here phone is a class name, right? It is not a function call. Phone is not a function call. Phone is my class name. So here now my question is, can we pass arguments inside this class name? Yes, of course we can do that. But if I want to pass arguments here, then I need to take parameters, which means I need to define parameters inside this init function also. So here I am going to take parameters as color, and which is, let me think of some other parameter in mobiles like refresh rate and RAM, storage. Okay, these four parameters are enough. So now our special method, our init method is accepting four parameters. four parameters. Actually, there are five, but just ignore the self. It is mandatory. This self is referring to my current object. In case of Redmi, self is referring to Redmi. In case of iPhone, self is referring to iPhone. So ignore the self. Apart from self, we have four parameters, right? So we can give values to these four parameters now inside this parenthesis of while creating a object. So here I can say color as red. So again, you can declare here a variable called color, and you can say red. And instead of directly giving here red, you can say color. Or else one more thing, you can take input from the user. It's up to you. It is your wish now. But to keep the code simple, I am going to directly give color here. So my color is red, and refresh rate. My refresh rate is 90 hertz, and my RAM is something like 8 GB. And in iPhone, I think we don't have RAM. Fine. So my storage is 256 GB. All right, now let me change this to OnePlus. So here color of my phone is blue, and here refresh rate is 120 hertz, and my RAM is 12 GB, and my storage is 512 GB, something like this. So I'm just giving some. Actually, this does not look like random value. These look like actual values. Fine. So here you can see what is happening here. So in the init method, I am having a parameter called color. Now, whenever I create an object called Redmi, this Redmi will get stored in the self parameter, and the color, the red, this will get stored in my color parameter, and 90 hertz will get stored in my refresh rate, and 8 GB will get stored in my RAM, and 256 GB will get stored in my storage. So like this, it will work. Now I can even print these values here. So instead of printing constructor executed, I am going to use a F string here, and I am going to print the color is color, comma, refresh rate is refresh rate. It's fine. Now if I run this, so what will happen? So I am not calling this show color method. So I am the only the code present inside constructor will get executed no. So I am going to get output as the color is red, refresh rate is 90 hertz. And while creating object called OnePlus, I am going to get output as the color is blue, refresh rate is 120 hertz. Now if I run this, you can see here I got the desired output. So which means my program is working perfectly all right. So let me clear this terminal, and now we know how we can pass parameters while creating object, right? So now we know how to do this. Now here the point is we were discussing about object variables, right? So what is this mean by object variables? So whatever the variables which are created inside this init method, they are called as object variables. Now here the main important thing is we know the concept of local variables. So we can't access local variables outside the function. The scope of our local variables will be inside the function only. We cannot access them outside our function. But as I am saying that init is a special method, which means it will have some special features. Now the special feature which we have here is the variables which we declare inside this init method, they can be accessed throughout our class. They can be accessed in other classes also. So that's the interesting thing here. As I'm saying that it is a special method, what is our specialty here? So the first specialty is the code present inside this init method will be executed automatically when we create an object. And now the second specialty is, so whatever the variables which I declare inside this init method, those variables can be accessed throughout all of the methods, throughout other methods also. I can if I declare a variable called color here, then I can access that color variable inside this show color method also. In case of normal functions, it is not possible. As I am saying that init is a special function or special method, we can do this here. So the variables which are present inside this init method, they are called as object variables. Why? Because they are so I will explain that with the example. Now first let me say color equal to um, now I'm going to declare a variable, right? So variable name is my wish. I'm going to say phone color equal to color. Similarly, refresh I mean phone RR means refresh rate equal to refresh rate. So this color, this refresh rate, these are my parameters. Okay, I am getting these parameters while creating my object. Okay, now the next variable is phone RAM equal to RAM, phone storage equal to storage. Okay, so first let me run this program now. So I got the same output once again, but here there is one more thing which you should remember. Now if I say, let me comment out this print function, and this is my new print function here. This time I am going to say the color is phone color and the refresh rate is phone RR. Now if I run this again, I got the same output. Now let us try to access this phone color and phone RR outside our function. So print, I am trying to access this phone color and phone refresh rate variables in other function, which is show color. So again, I am going to, let me copy this same print function itself. Now if I run this, you can see here, now I need to call this show color function also, right? So let me comment out the print function which is present inside my constructor. So now the code present inside my constructor will not get executed, which means these two print functions which will not get executed. And I am declaring four variables here. All right. So that's what I am doing in my program. And let me remove this color is red print function. Now I should get output as the color is red and the refresh rate is 90 hertz for this Redmi. So I am calling redmi.showColor, right? So I should get that output. Now if I run this, we got an error. So why we got this error? What is happening? Just now I told that the variables which are present inside this init method, they can be accessed in other methods also. But I am getting an error here. So here, just think this in a normal way. I am calling redmi.showColor. Okay, I know that I am calling the showColor method of Redmi object. But how will my Python interpreter understand that this phone color variable which is present over here, it belongs to Redmi? How will my Python interpreter understand that this phone RR variable which is present over here, this belongs to my Redmi? It is, I'm not specifically mentioning that I'm not calling here redmi.phone color. Directly I'm saying phone color. So it is throwing me a name error. Name phone color is not defined. So to solve this, what we should do means we can't simply we can't simply declare variables like this. So there is a special syntax for declaring instance variables. So the point here is I should say self dot phone color. Now what is happening here? In the constructor, I am saying self dot phone color. Now we in our laptops and in our computers, we have a special memory called as heap memory. All our objects, all our functions and variables, they are getting stored inside that heap memory during the execution of our program. And after completely executing our program, those will get vanished, which means they will be deleted automatically. Okay, so there is a special memory called heap memory. Now what will happen here means whenever I say self.phoneColor equal to color, inside that heap memory, my Python interpreter will understand that first I am creating an object called readme. So now the value of self is of course readme. Okay. So now the phone color of readme is color. Here color is nothing but I am whatever the color which I am passing, which is red here. Similarly, the phone refresh rate of readme is 90 hertz. Why? Because I am passing 90 hertz here and my object name is Redmi and I am saying self dot phone refresh rate. So self is referring to my current object, which means Redmi is my current object. Similarly, Redmi dot the RAM of Redmi is 8 GB and the storage of Redmi is 256 GB. Now my Python interpreter will clearly understand that. So here I am saying self dot phone color, which means the phone color of a specific object is color, whatever the color which we are passing here. In case of OnePlus, it is blue. Okay, I think you are getting my point. So here, let me say the syntax also. So the syntax is very simple. We should say self dot variable name. So this variable name can be anything now. Variable name equal to our value. So here color is a value, refresh rate is a value, and I am getting these values while creating. I am passing these values as arguments while creating my object. Okay. Now these values will be stored inside these parameters, which I am using while defining a function. and I am assigning these parameters to my instance variables. Okay, these are my instance variables, or else simply you can say them as object variables also. Now you are getting the point why we are calling them as object variables, right? I am calling and we are calling them as object variables. Why? Because this phone color is not a normal variable. It is referring to a specific object, right? In case of Redmi, this phone color is referring to Redmi object. In case of phone RAM, this phone RAM is a is a object variable which is referring to my Redmi object. For OnePlus, this phone RAM is a object variable which is referring to my OnePlus object. Okay, so like this it will work. Now while calling these variables also, I should say self dot phone color and self dot phone refresh rate. Now if I run this, let me clear the terminal first. Actually, I'm getting the output. So you can see here I got the desired output. Whenever I say Redmi dot show color, I am calling this method called show color. Now let me change the name of this method to show specs. Okay, it will make more meaning. It will be more meaningful, right? So my specs is phone color is color, and let me print the values of RAM also. The RAM is self dot phone RAM, and storage is self dot phone storage. Now if I run this, now I am calling the method called show specs, and there are two print functions in this show specs method, and I am printing the values of phone color, phone refresh rate, phone storage, and phone RAM. Now I am calling for only Redmi, so I am going to get output as, so let me run this. You can see here we got the desired output. The color is red, refresh rate is 90 Hertz, RAM is 8 GB, and storage is 128 GB. So these are the specs which we are passing while creating our Redmi object, right? Now my Python interpreter will understand that whenever I say self dot phone color, it will understand that self means object. What object I am calling? Redmi, right? For Redmi object, I am calling this show specs method. So Redmi dot phone color. So what is Redmi dot phone color? So while creating a object, we said that the phone color of Redmi is red. So like this, now my Python interpreter will clearly understand and it will give us the correct output. So this is the syntax for declaring a special variable. We should say self dot variable name. I'm sorry, it is not special variable. It is object variable. It is related to a specific object. So why we need this? In our last class, we told you that we will have multiple objects, hundreds and thousands of objects for a single class. And the attributes of those objects will be different. What is meant by attributes? Attributes are nothing but variables only. So don't confuse with the new terms. Attributes are nothing but variables only. So here the point is, for each and every object, we may have different variables. So in order to give or assign separate values for separate objects, then we need these instance variables or object variables. With the help of these variables, we can we can now assign separate color for separate objects. So for Redmi the color is red. For OnePlus the color is blue. The refresh rate is 120 hertz. So like this we can use them now. Okay, so these are called as object variables. So today we have discussed about class variables and object variables. So these class variables will be same for all the objects, but these objects variable, the values of these object variables will be different for all the objects. For Redmi it is different, for OnePlus it is different. Suppose if I create a new phone called as or new object called as Realme, for Realme it will be different. Okay, that's the point which you should understand and which you should remember now. This is the syntax, and whenever I say self, don't first understand the meaning of this self keyword. So self is a keyword which is referring to my current object. If I say self dot phone color and I am creating here an object called Redmi, so self dot color means Redmi dot phone color. So the phone color of Redmi is red. So this value of a variable will be stored inside my heap memory. So whenever I call the show specs method of Redmi object, so I will get the exact output. So the color of self dot phone color. Now what is the value that is getting stored in this self? So self is nothing but Redmi. Why? Because I am calling show specs method of Redmi object. Okay. So now Redmi dot phone color. What is Redmi dot phone color? While creating object, we told that the phone color of Redmi is red. So now I will get output as red here. So that is what happening here in the background. Now you can see here, I am not, so this phone color is a variable which is present in init method. It is not present anywhere. It is not present outside the method. It is just present inside the method only. But I can able to access this variable in other methods also. That's why I told you that. So this init is a special method, and we can access these object variables throughout our class. So these are the few important points which you should remember here. Okay. I think now I just commented out these two print functions. That's the reason why I am not getting any output while creating this Redmi object. And also one more thing which you can observe here is I am not running this function, right? I am not calling this function called init. So whenever I create an object here called Redmi and OnePlus, automatically the code present inside this init function is getting executed. That's the reason how I got these four variables. So as these four lines are getting executed, then only I can access this variable and other method, right? So actually these are getting executed in the background whenever I create a object. So that's the beauty of this constructor method, or you can say init method in Python. Okay, these are the class variables, and these are object variables, and this is a constructor. So these are the things which we discussed today. Yeah, I think you all are clearly getting my point here, and also we are going to discuss about some other concepts today. So don't leave the class. So I have enabled the chat section, but before sending your questions, I need to make sure one thing. So here, this object-oriented programming is an interesting concept. At the same time, it is little bit confusing also. So while I was learning this concept, I usually watch YouTube videos in the 2x speed. Okay, but while learning this object-oriented programming concept, I watched it in normal speed, and apart from that, I have watched more than two times. Why? Because it is kind of confusing for me also while learning. So what I did means I have repeatedly watched those videos two to three times, and simultaneously I have practiced it a lot. I am speaking of these things I did 4 years ago, not now. So while I was learning Python 4 years ago, I have learned the concept of object-oriented programming like this. So I am also suggesting you the same way. So far, what we discussed is functions, if-else conditions, loops. They all are basic concepts. I never told you to practice them also, okay? But now I am telling you to practice these concepts. Why? Because here the main point is if you are not practicing means then after 2 months, if you look at a class and the object, then you will forget everything. You can't even remember a single point. So that's why I am telling you all to practice this simultaneously. So after completion of the class, once again watch the recorded video. If you have still any confusion means, then again watch the recorded video. Okay, then only you will understand the concept. Why? Because whatever which we are discussing here, they are totally new concepts here, right? So constructor is a new concept, class variable is a new concept, object variable is a new concept. Everything is a new concept here. Okay, for you I can understand that there may be some kind of confusion, or else you may be thinking that you will forget all these things. Yes, I can understand that completely. So that's the reason why I repeatedly telling you to practice this again and again, and also watch the recorded video again. I never told you to watch the recorded video. After starting this concept of object oriented programming only, I want all of you to watch the recorded video again. Why? Because I don't want you to forget these concepts. I want you to remember these concepts forever. Why? Because these are important concepts in any programming language. In C++, in Java, object oriented programming is very important. So here we are going to learn the basics of object oriented programming, which will help you there also. Suppose in the future, if you are learning Java, then from the day one itself, they will create a class, they will create a method. Okay. So without class and method, we can't do anything in Java. But in Python, it is very simple. You can directly run a print statement. In order to print hello world also, you need to create a class and a method in Java. Okay, anyways, now we don't have to discuss about Java, but fine. So I think you are getting my point, right? So just send me something so that I can get some acknowledgement that you are understanding. I'm waiting for your messages, and don't leave the class. The class is not completed yet. So Kavya, so your question is in every program we need to use self. Of course, not in every program. Inside class we will have methods, right? In every method we need to use self. In normal functions we don't have to use self. but the methods which are present inside class, in each and every method we need to use self. With the help of self only we can differentiate the values of separate objects, right? So self is referring to our current object, and we know that we can create thousands of objects for a same class. So we need that self. So Fujit, we pass variables in init method. Why we access those variables in class? So I can't understand your question exactly, but here I am taking some parameters and I am assigning these parameters to some variables, right? So in order to process some data, suppose now we are creating a class called phone, and we may have multiple objects like Redmi, OnePlus, Realme, like we may have multiple phones, right? So if you want to store some of the data regarding that phone, like the specs of the phone, here we have refresh rate, RAM, ROM, and color. So we need to store all this data somewhere now. So what we use for storing data? We use variables, right? So that's the reason why we are declaring variables. And here the specialty is we can access these object variables throughout other methods also. That's what we are doing here. In the other method, we are accessing phone color. In case of normal functions, the variables which are present inside a function will be a local variable, and we cannot access them outside the function and also even in the other function. Whereas in case of init, which is a special method, we can access all these variables throughout our class. Okay, that's the main point here. And in normal method, we know that if I want to execute this show specs method, someone asked me this question. So Pushparaj is asking what is the difference between function. So that's what I've been telling from the beginning. So constructor is a special method. Here the main point is if I want to execute the code of this show specs method, I need to call it. At line number 36, I am calling the show specs method. Whereas the code present inside this constructor will get executed automatically whenever I create a object. I don't have to call this init method externally. It will get executed internally whenever I create a object. So that's the main thing which you should remember in case of constructor or init method. Yes, Amulya, if you are not passing any parameter, means in the show specs method, you can see I am not passing any argument, but also there is a parameter called self. This is what I told you yesterday clearly. So this self is referring to my readme object. So in the background, it is happening. So in the background, this readme is getting assigned to this self. So whenever I say self dot phone color, so so which phone color I am trying to print? I am trying to print for Redmi or OnePlus or Realme, for which object I am trying to print. So if I say self dot phone color means in self Redmi will get stored. So that's the reason why I will get the phone color of Redmi object. So here internally it will be defined as Redmi dot phone color. And here it will get stored inside my heap memory. I have told you this. So that's the point here. Even if you are not passing any arguments also, then also you should pass this self parameter. So this self parameter is referring to my current object. So we may have multiple thousands of objects for the same class. That's the reason we need this self parameter. So this self will refer to my current object. Suppose if I say one plus dot show color, show specs, right? Show specs. Let me comment out line number 36. Now, if I run this, you can see here I got the different output. The color is blue, refresh rate is 120 hertz. Actually, now I am getting the details of one plus object. How is it happening? Because I am saying one plus dot show specs. As I am saying that one plus dot show specs, so one plus is getting stored inside this self parameter. It is happening in the background. And whenever now what is the self one plus, right? So what is the phone color of one plus? It is blue. So it is getting assigned during the while creating the object. I am creating an object called one plus and I am passing some arguments here. So these arguments are getting stored inside these parameters: color, refresh rate, RAM, and storage. And I am saying self dot phone color equal to one plus. What is self now? One plus. So one plus dot phone color is blue. So phone color of one plus is blue. Now it is getting stored in my heap memory. So heap memory, HEAP, heap memory. And now when I call the show specs method of one plus object, now what is one plus dot phone color? Blue. So like that it is working in the internally it is working like that. So that's what I've been trying to explain from the last few minutes. Okay. Anyways, I think I have clearly made my point here. And still, if you have any kind of confusion, means I can totally understand why, because it is kind of confusing concept for all people. So I highly recommend you to, even if you are understanding all the topics clearly, means then also watch the recorded video once again. Why? Because I want all of you to remember these concepts forever. Okay. Now, without wasting time, let us continue our class. Now, here we are going to discuss about inheritance. Inheritance.py. So before discussing about inheritance, let me tell you about encapsulation. So what is meant by encapsulation means, so basically the definition, so I will use Google for this definition. I usually don't memorize any definition, so that's the point. So shall we ask Chat GPT or else encapsulation in Python? So let me zoom in. So have a look at the definition. It describes the idea of wrapping data and methods. Okay, this is enough. It encapsulation means combining or wrapping data and methods. What is my data? Data is nothing but my variables, right? So in this class, we have some variables. Of course, we have some variables, which is our data, and also we have some methods. So this itself is called as encapsulation. So encapsulation is a concept in object-oriented programming, which means binding data and methods, or else you can say binding variables and methods together. It is called as encapsulation. Let me write that definition. So encapsulation is nothing but binding or wrapping data or variables, both are same, and methods. So it is called as encapsulation. Now we already did that. So we are already using some variables and we have some methods. So that's the point here. So we are actually performing encapsulation here. Encapsulation is nothing but binding or wrapping our data and methods together. So here we have some methods, we have some variables. This is called as encapsulation in object-oriented programming. Okay, and I think there are some people who are from Java background. Why? Because with the help of questions which they asked in previous classes, I conclude that they have already learned Java. In case of Java, we have some uh, private methods, protected methods, public methods. We have something like that, no? Whereas in case of Python, we don't have all those things. So before I want to make sure that this important point. So if you're learning Python for the first time, then okay, don't just ignore these things. But for all the people who know Java, in Java we have private methods, public methods, protected methods. We have all those things. In case of Python, we don't have anything like that. We don't have private methods and protected methods. Okay, that's the main thing which you should remember. And now let us discuss about inheritance. So first, what is meant by inheritance? It is an interesting concept, believe me. So we are going to do a lot of cool stuff here. So first, let me search in Google. Let me say what inheritance means. So that the things that are inherited. So in simple terms, I can say the property which belongs to our parents in the future, that property will belong to us, right? So we are basically inheriting the property from our parents. And also, we may have similar features like how can I say, suppose we may have we may have the eyes of our mother, we may speak like our father, we may look like our father or our mother. So basically we are inheriting some genes from them. So that is the thing, inheritance in biology. Actually, we have this concept in programming also. Translate to, so let us use Google Translator. Searching for Telugu. Where is Telugu? So Telugu. Yeah, you can see here Varasatvam. So now I think you are getting my point. So inheritance means Varasatvam. Purvikula Lakshanamula Kaligi Unduta. Okay, I think you are getting the point here. So that's what I want. And in Tamil, we call it Urimai. Okay, Parambarai Sottu. I also know Tamil. Okay, and you can search in other languages also, in Hindi or in Odia. It's your wish now. Okay, fine. Now I think you are getting the point of inheritance. Basically, we inherit things from properties, characteristics from our parents. Okay, now the same terms are legacy, brightened. Okay, I think you are getting my point now. Yeah, I just shown you, I have shown you in Telugu, right? In Telugu, we call it as Varasatvam. So, what does it has to do with programming now? So that's the main thing which we are going to discuss now. So actually, the point here is, so far we have created only one class. Now let me create more than one class. So let me create a class called person. Let me say student. So here my class name is now student. And of course, for student, he will have his name. So let me say init. So self is my default parameter. And for student, we will have a name and we will have a age and we will have, okay, these two are fine. Let's make it, let's keep the thing simple. So self dot student name equal to name, self dot age left student age equal to age. Okay, now the student name and student age are my object variables, and I'm going to create a method called as show details. That's it. So by default, our parameter is self, and I'm going to print the name of student is student name and age is student age. All right. So this is our program. This is our one class. If I say, so now let me create an object called S1. S1 means student one in simple terms. So my class name is student, and I need to pass two arguments here. They are my name and age. Those two arguments which I will pass will get assigned to name and age. Okay, now the name of student is, so let me say, again, let me say Elon Musk, and his age is 3 years. I don't know his age. And let me create one more object called S2. So, so he's, Elon Musk is not a student, right? Anyway, fine. Mark Zuck, and his age is 40. So fine. Now, if I say S1 dot show details, what will I get? Of course, I am going to get output as the name of the student is. So I should say self here, self dot student name. So whenever I say self dot student name, so what is self? S1, right? So S1 dot student name and S1 dot student name is Elon Musk, and similarly S1 dot student age. So self means S1 now. So S1 dot student age is 50. I'm going to get that output. So if I run this, so let me clear the terminal. And if I run this once again, you can see here I got the desired output. The name of the student is Elon Musk and the age is 20. Okay, it is completely fine until now. So here let me create one more class called laptop. Okay, now we have a method called show specs, and I am going to take only one parameter here, which is details, and I'm going to simply print the parameter. That's it. So I'm not taking any, I'm not initializing any constructor here. Okay, I just want to keep things simple. And of course, I am going to use constructor also after a few minutes. So laptop specs are details. Now this details is my parameter name. I can directly print it. So there is no need to mention self dot details. Why? Because this details is my parameter name. All right. So now if I say, so I need to create object for this laptop class also, right? So let me create object called L1, which means laptop one, and my class name is laptop. So I'm not using any init method. So that's the reason why I'm not passing any arguments here also while creating laptop method. So in laptop, we have a class called L1 dot show specs. Now here I need to pass some data like I5 eighth gen, something like this. It's fine. Now I'm passing I5 eighth gen here. So what will happen? So inside this cells, inside this self L1 will get stored. Why? Because I am calling the show specs method of L1 object. So now L1 gets stored in the self, and I am passing one value here, I5 eighth gen. So this I5 eighth gen, this string will be stored in the details parameter. Now I am simply printing laptop specs or details. So my details are now I5 eighth gen. That's it. Now if I run this, you can see here I got the desired output, laptop specs are I5 8 gen. So it is fine until now. So now we are going to discuss about inheritance, right? So here, so here, just think this in the real time or real world scenario itself. So for each and every student, he needs a laptop, right? So laptop is again a vast class. We will have multiple objects, which means we will have multiple variants of laptops. So for each and every student, he need a laptop. He will purchase a laptop of his own choice, depending upon his choice, like color, budget, specs, whether he wants a gaming laptop or professional working laptop or a lightweight laptop. It's up to him. Each and every student will purchase his own laptop. Now, laptop is also again a separate class. I can say laptop, so I can basically mingle this laptop inside this class itself. Why? Because laptop itself is again a special class, and it will have its own attributes, it will have its own details, like each and every laptop will have its own color, it will have its own size, it will have its own weight, it will have its own specs like RAM, processor generation, like i5 8th gen or i9, i3. We have lot of specs, I mean we have lot of processors like that, right? And similarly, apart from that, yeah, the laptop may be touch or it may be normal, and laptop will have a keyboard, touchpad. Yesterday I told all these things. So here my point is, laptop is also a separate class here, but students also needs a laptop. So we can do one thing here. What is meant by inheritance? So acquiring characteristics from the parent to child, right? Similarly, we can call student as a child class and laptop as a, sorry, student as a parent class and laptop as a child class. So that's the thing here. So I can say after laptop, I can specify a parenthesis. Inside this parenthesis, I can say student. Now here what will happen means, this laptop class will inherit all the methods which are present inside my student class. So basically whatever the data which is present inside my student class, this data will come into my laptop class also now. Okay, this is the main point which you should remember. So we are performing inheritance here. So what is happening? All the details from student class are now present inside my laptop class. So this laptop is a class which is inheriting my student class. So as it is inheriting other class, I can say it as a child class. So laptop is a child class and student is a parent class. Why? Because first we have a student, and this laptop method, this laptop class is inheriting all the methods from student class. So that's the reason we, as a child, I inherit characteristics from my parents. So that is what happening here. So laptop is a child class now, which is inheriting all the methods from parent class, which is student. So the syntax is class name. After class name, we specify parenthesis, and inside this parenthesis, we specify parent class name. So that's how it works. Suppose if you think that this example doesn't make any sense, then from next time we will simply declare classes as class A, class B, class C. It will be much easier. So I just want to take some real-time examples. So that's why I am using classes as student, laptop, like this. So we have various types of inheritance. So while discussing about those types, let us make the code simple, like simply taking as class A, class B, class C, like that. Okay. Now, now here we have a object called L1. So L1 is object of laptop class. Let me comment out line number 15. Now I am say just now I told that this laptop class is now having all the methods of student class, which means, can I call this show details method? So this show details is a method which belongs to student class. So can I call this show details method with the help of L1 object? L1 is an object of laptop class, right? So let us try it. Let me say L1 dot show details. Now if I run this, what will happen? You can see here we got an error, init missing two required positional arguments. Okay, so here, yes, show details. Okay, so okay, if I explain you what is happening here means you will get little bit confusion. So just give me 1 minute. Okay, first, let us try to understand this example. Let us keep things simple today, and tomorrow we will look deeper. And we have a lot of types of inheritance, like single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, hybrid inheritance. So we have 5 types of inheritance. We will discuss all those things in the next on Monday. So tomorrow is Sunday, right? So on the Monday we will discuss all these things. But today we will see the basics of inheritance. Now, if I say print, so first let me create an object. First, I am going to create an object called a obj. So this is object of a class. So my class name is a. That's it. Similarly, I'm going to create b obj, which is object of b class. So here my class name is b. All right. Now if I run this, I will get output as print uh, in class A. Why? Because I'm creating an object of A class, and inside the A class we have this special method, init method. So whenever I create an object of A class, the code present inside my method will get executed. So I will get output as in class A. So if I run this, you can see. So let me clear this, and now if I run this, you can see here I got output as in class A 2 times. So so this is the main important thing here. So first, let me not inherit this. So we have two separate classes, class A and class B. So this class B is not inheriting class A now. Now if I run this, of course, I got output as in class A, which is totally, we know this, it is meaningful. Now, if I inherit class A, I am inheriting class A here. So what will happen means, as the class B is inheriting class A, which means all the methods which belong to class A will come inside class B also now. So in class A, we have a constructor method, which is init method, right? So whenever I create object for class B, then also the init method of class A will be get executed. So that's the main point which you should remember here. So in class B, we don't have a init method, but this class B is inheriting class A. So when I run this program now, when I am creating object for class B here, so while creating object for class B also, this init method will get executed. So that's the point here. Why? Because class B is inheriting class A. All the methods of class B now belongs to class B. So if I run this, I got in class A 2 times. So that's the point here. Let me comment out line number 32. So now I will get 1 time. So here you can see I got output 1 time, which means here I am creating object for class B, right? So this B is inheriting A. So the constructor which is present inside A is getting executed, and I got the output as in class A. So that's the interesting thing here. And also one more thing. So my object name is BOBJ, right? B object. If I say b obj dot show name, and if I run this, you can see I got output as this method belongs to class B, which is totally fine. Okay, it is fine, right? So whenever I call show name method, we have a method called show name inside our class B. So I got the code. This method belongs to class B on my output screen. Why? Because I am simply printing that. That's it. Now, can I call this show class method from B object? So this B obj is object of class B. It is not object of class A. So can I call this show class method? This show class method belongs to class A. Can I call this show class method with the help of B obj? Yes, of course I can do that. So that's the point of inheritance. So B obj dot show class. Now, if I call show class method, so what is the code present inside show class method? A simple print function which is printing the show class method of class A. Okay, so if I run this, let me clear this terminal and let me run this once again. You can see here at line number 3, I got output as the show class method of class A. So that's what getting executed, the show class method of class A. So this is the thing about inheritance. So you basically you can inherit the all the methods from the parent class. So here A is parent class and B is a child class. Okay. So whenever I say B of A, all the methods which are present inside A will get inherited into B now. So whenever I create an object for B class, I can access all the methods which are present inside A class. So that's the main thing here. And also one more thing, what happens if I say init of self and if I print in class B. So now for class B, we have one init method, right? So we have one init method for class B. And also this class B is inheriting class A. So just now I told that as it is inheriting class A, the init method of class A also will get executed. But here the main thing which we should observe is inside class B also we have a init method. So which init method will get executed now? That's the question. So which init method will get executed now? So I'm not creating an object for class A, I'm directly creating object for class B. So let us run this. So you can see here on the output screen, we got output as in class B. So what is happening here? So whenever we create an object, then by default, initially, it will check whether an init method is present inside that class or not. So here in class B, we have an init method. I am creating object for class B. So the code present inside the init method of class B got executed. Suppose if I am not having this init method means the code present inside class A init method will get executed. So that's the point here which you should remember. So in case of inheritance, the class B is inheriting class A. Suppose if I have init method inside class B means, so whenever I create object for class B, the init method of class B will get executed. And in case if I don't have init method in class B means, then by default, the init method which is present inside class A will get executed and I will get the output as in class A. Now that I got a init method in class B itself, I got output as class B. So that is what happening here. So here, so in today's class, what you should remember means, so we have a concept called inheritance. With the help of inheritance, we can access all the parent class methods also from the child class. So here, basically, class B is inheriting all the methods of class A. Okay. So I can, if I create an object for class B, I can access the methods of class A also with the help of B obj, which belongs to class B. I have accessed the method called show class. This show class is a method which belongs to class A. So this is the point of inheritance. Here we have a parent class and a child class. So B is my child class. Why? Because B is inheriting or B is acquiring all the methods from parent class, which is A. So here the syntax is, so I will comment out all this code and I will explain this tomorrow why I got that error. So today we have just started the concept of inheritance. So inheritance syntax is simple. Class, child class name. In parentheses, we specify parent class name and code. That's it. So this is our syntax for inheritance. Okay. So in the parentheses, we will specify the parent class name. So whatever the methods and whatever the data which is present inside parent class, it will all come inside my child class also. And with the help of object of child class, I can access all the methods of parent class. So that's the main thing in case of inheritance. And in the next class on Monday, we are going to discuss some other types of inheritances. And we will discuss about this concept deeply. And after that, we will discuss about polymorphism. And with this, our object-oriented programming concept will get completed. And from Tuesday, let us start our real-time project. Okay. So today we discussed about constructors, instance variables, class variables, and inheritance. Now, yesterday someone asked me about can we create a class inside a class? Yes, of course we can do that. So just raise your hand if you have patience to listen this concept also. So within 5 minutes, I will explain the concept of inner class also. Okay, a lot of people are raising their hand, so it is good to see. Okay, fine. So just give me 10 more minutes. Concentrate for 10 more minutes. You will clearly understand the concept of inner class. So let me create a new file called innerclass.py. So, and I highly recommend you once again to watch the recorded video so that you will clearly remember all those concepts. So now class inside a class. Let me create a class called A here, and this class is having a method called def in A. So in A is my method name now. I'm just taking some random names here, that's it. So I'm going to print inside class A. So let me give the name as show name so that it makes more sense. All right. Now I am going to create a new class inside class A. So I am going to say class B. So this class B is now present inside class A. All right. So in class B, let me create a function called show status. So I'm just giving some random names here. You can use any name. So the point which you should remember here is, so you should know the syntax, you should know how the code works. Now, depending upon your requirement, you can write your own code. So that's the thing about programming. So if you know the concept of this inner class means, then you can happily, depending upon your requirement, you can write your own code. So that's how programming works. Okay, as we are learning basics now, okay, we are in the beginning state, we are in the beginning stage and we are learning basics. So that's why I'm using these random names like class A, class B, show name, show status, like this. So here I'm having a print statement which is printing inside class B. That's it. Now let me create object for class A. So obj equal to A. So A is, now if I say obj dot show details, of course I'm going to get output as inside class A. Let me run this. A object has no attribute show details. Yes, why? Because our method is show name, not show details. I made a mistake. Method name is show name here. Okay. Now if I run this, I got the desired output. Let me clear the terminal. And if I run this, you can see here I got output as inside class A. This is what we are expecting, right? Now there is a separate class inside this class A. How can we create object for this class B? So this is where things get interesting. Okay. So obj B equal to, I can directly say B here. Now if I run this, you can say I got name error. Name B is not defined. Yes, of course it is not defined. So this B is present inside class A. So in order to create object of class B, I should say A dot B. Now if I run this, you can see here this time I haven't got any error. So I'm not getting any error, which means it is working fine. If I say obj B dot, so what is the method that I am having here? Show status. My method name is show status. Now if I run this, so I got the desired output. I got the output as inside class B. Why? Because I'm having a simple print function here, which is printing inside class B. As I'm calling the method called show status, the code present inside this method is getting executed, and I got output as inside class B. So, all right, it is perfectly working fine. What you should remember here, you should remember the syntax of creating an object. So, let me write that syntax. So here your syntax is object name. So object name, it is basically your variable name equal to outer class name dot inner class name and parenthesis. So this is our syntax here. Okay. First, we should specify our outer class name. What is my outer class name? A here, right? So I said A. After that, I given the name of inner class, which is B, and after that, parenthesis as usual. So like this, you create objects of inner class, and like this, you can access the methods which are present inside our inner class. Okay, I think you are getting my point here. And also one more interesting thing. Now you can create your init method here. So def init. So again, these concepts are same. We already know how init method works. So let me take a parameter called, so data. I'm just going to pass some random data. So I'm going to print data is data, and this is a F string. All right. So now here I am calling, I am creating object for class B, right? And class B we have init method, and inside this init method I am taking a parameter called data, which means I should pass a parameter here is as B class. Okay. So I am just, let me pass here some more meaningful data like welcome to Python class like this. So what will happen? So I am passing this welcome to Python class string in the class B. So we have a parameter called data here in the init method. So inside this data parameter, this string will get stored. Welcome to Python class. Okay. Now here I am printing that data. That's it. So I don't have to call this init method to execute. We know this, right? Whenever we create an object, automatically the init method will get executed. So as I'm creating object at line number 18, I am going to get output as data is welcome to Python class. And after that, I am calling show status method. So I am going to get output as inside class B. So that's what going to happen. So if I run this, you can see here I got the desired output. First I got data is welcome to Python class. After that, I got inside class B. So I quickly explained this. Why? Because we already know the concept of init, right? So that's the reason why I quickly explained this. So like this, you can create objects of inner class. So can I create object of this class B inside class A itself? So that's the question here. Can I create object of class B inside class A itself? Yes, of course we can do that. So for that, we need to use this init method again. So I don't want to take any parameters. So that's why I'm going to pass self only. Now I should say self dot. What is my class name? Also, my object name is objb. Now this is my object name. It can be any name. Objb is this is the name I am taking. You can take name of your own choice. Okay. Now here self dot b. So this syntax is little bit confusing. So don't worry about this. I can understand that this syntax is little bit confusing. Okay. Now I if I run this, of course I won't get any output. So here what I am doing means I'm having an inner class called class B, right? So I am creating object of this class B inside class A itself. So this is the syntax, which is again, you should remember the syntax. Why? Because so why are we using self here again and again? The point is again the same point only. We can create multiple objects of class A, right? So as we can create multiple objects of class A, we need to differentiate the data for each and every object. So that's the point here. So that's the reason why you should mention self here. Okay. So I hope you are getting my point. Now, if I say objb dot so status. Now, if I run this, yeah, I'm expecting this error. Name objb is not defined. Also, I should say self dot objb, right? So a dot b missing. Yeah, this is what error I am expecting. So here I'm going to pass some data as welcome to Aavanto. Yes, I got the desired output. So I will explain what is happening here. Don't worry. So I got the output as data. Data is welcome to Avanto. Why? Because I am passing welcome to Avanto as a string. So I have commented out all these lines. Okay, these lines are not getting executed. So which line is getting executed here? Line number 16 only. I am creating object of class A. That's it. I am just creating object of class A. What will happen if I create an object? So simple, right? The code present inside constructor will get executed. That's what will happen when we create an object, right? So now what is the code that is present inside my constructor? I am creating a object of class B here. So the syntax for that is self.objb. This objb is my object name. Okay. Now the self is referring to my obja object. So I am repeatedly using these terms like object class, object class. Think you don't have any kind of confusions here. So this self is referring to obja, and for obja, the object objb is self.b. I can understand that this sounds somewhat weird, but fine. So if you are getting my point, that's enough. So I'm just creating a object for class B inside my class A. So this is the syntax for doing that. So I think this syntax is easy, right? At line number 21 and 22, I think this is easy for to understand and also to remember. So this syntax is little bit complex. So anyways, as it is a syntax, we need to follow that. So here my syntax is nothing. I'm just creating object for class B, but I need to specify self keyword here. That's the main difference. And we know that this class B is taking a data parameter, right? Inside init method, we have a parameter called data. So we need to pass a value here. So I am passing a string welcome to Avanto. So this welcome to Avanto is getting stored inside this data parameter. So we are so as I'm creating object of class B now, the init method of class B will get executed. So I got output as data is welcome to Avanto at line number 1. And again in the below line, I am calling the show status method of class B. Okay, so my object name is objb, and with the help of self.objb.show status, I am calling the show status method of class B. So that's the reason why I got output as inside class B at line number 2. So I can understand that the syntax is a little bit confusing and difficult to understand. But anyways, don't worry. If you think that this is difficult, then just ignore it. That's what I suggest you right now. Why? Because we are discussing a lot of new topics, and yet we have to discuss some of the important topics. I want you to understand all those topics. But meanwhile, if you understood the syntax mean, great. Okay, it is completely great. If you understood how this is working, it is completely fine. And also you can repeat the recorded video once again. And all I want to do is, I mean, all I want to make sure is you are understanding this first syntax, creating object of class B outside our class, outside class A. Okay, like this we can create. So outer class name dot inner class name followed by parameters like arguments we should pass depending upon our parameters in init method. So this I think this syntax is simple. So you remember this syntax as of now. Suppose in case if you have any difficulties in understanding this syntax. Okay, I think you are getting my point. And I have enabled the chat section. So yes, that's the end of today's class. If you don't have any kind of doubts, means you can leave this class. And if you have any doubts, means you can ask me. And I can understand that these concepts are a little bit confusing, but these are the important concepts in any programming language. In case of Python, these are a little bit confusing, whereas in Java, these concepts are really simple actually. Okay. So you can ask me if you have any doubts. If you understood means you can simply say clear or understood something like that. So Prashant, little bit confusion. Yes, I can understand. These concepts are little bit confusing only. So that's the reason why I repeatedly telling you to watch recorded videos. Why? Because even for me, while learning this concept, I have seen the videos 2 to 3 times. Then only I was able to clearly understand these concepts. Okay. So if you watch the recorded video once again means, then I can assure you that you will clearly understand all these concepts. Yeah, Amulya, when we inherit class A in class B, should we have equal parameters? So that's a nice question actually. Uh, Still, I haven't explained that part yet. So in the Monday, I'm going to explain the answer for your question. Yes, yes, Sekar, I can understand that it is a little bit confusing. Yes, yes, Vishnu, you can have more than one classes inside. You can get multiple classes inside classes. But the point is, your code will become more confusing, and even for you, it will be very difficult to create objects for all those classes. So that's the point here. So Sujit is asking a question. So if you want to understand these concepts completely and clearly means, so I highly recommend you to watch the recorded video once again because that's how you are going to learn these concepts. Okay, you should remember these concepts forever. So if you watch the recorded video once again means I can assure you that you will clearly understand. Okay, all you need to do is if you are really interested to learn means spend some time. That's it. Spend 1 hour, watch the recorded video and practice simultaneously. You will understand these concepts clearly. And Sujit is asking a doubt, sir, inheritance we call BOBG. Sujit, actually, I can't understand your question. You're asking doubt regarding which part? About line number 4 and 5 or line number 21 and 22? Specify the line number, Sujit. So, Kaushar, actually, I don't understand what is meant by preference here. So, I clearly explained the difference between class variable and constructor variable, which are object variables, right? So, class variables are common for all the objects, and the objects variables may differ depending upon the object. So if you still have any kind of confusions in the difference between class variable and the object variable, then check out the recorded video once I will share tonight. So Sujit is asking doubt regarding line number 4 and 5. So here actually what I'm doing means I am creating here obj b is my object name. So let me change this to some other name like hello. So here my object name is hello. I can give any name, it's my wish, right? So hello is object of class B. Here everything is same only. So how we create a object of class A? You can see I said obj equal to class name parenthesis. That's it, right? So that's what I'm doing here also. Hello is my object name. Class B is my class name. So B parenthesis, and as this init method of class B is taking a parameter, I am passing a argument here. Welcome to Avanto. That's it. Suppose if I remove this data, I don't have to pass this parameter also. Okay. So we are creating exactly in the same way. Obj A equal to A, and here hello equal to B. B is my inner class name. But the main difference which we had here is we are using this self here before our object name. So this is the point which you should remember. So according to syntax, while declaring variables inside init function, it is mandatory to say self dot variable name. Okay, then only my Python interpreter will understand that. So it is belonging to a particular object like so this hello object is now belonging to obja. Hello is also a object, and again it is referring to obja object. So I can understand that it is little bit confusing, but anyways, so here the syntax is exactly same. Hello is my object name, B is my class name, and welcome to Avanto is my argument. All right. Now I am calling hello.show status. So show status is a method which is present inside class B, and I am calling it with the help of object name. Here my object name is hello, and I am saying hello.show status. So that's it. So I need to make sure that before hello, I am mentioning self dot. So that's according to syntax, that's how it works. Okay. So I think you are getting at least some point here. So Amulya, if you want to print both Redmi and OnePlus, you are creating objects called Redmi and OnePlus, right? So automatically the constructors for Redmi and OnePlus will get executed and you will get the desired output. So just hang on for a second. Here we discussed about constructor, right? So let me remove this comment behind this print statement. Here I am creating two objects called Redmi and OnePlus. So for Redmi, this print function will get executed, and also for OnePlus, this print function will get executed. Why? Because it is present inside my init method, right? So if I run this, you can see here I got the details of Redmi and OnePlus, like red, blue, 90 hertz and 120 hertz. So like this, it will work. Fine. So I think Sujit, you are asking about instance variable. So we can't use instance variable outside our class. I just told you that we can use instance variables throughout our class, which means we can use them inside the other methods of our class. Okay, we cannot use them outside the class. It is not allowed. Okay, the scope of instance variable is inside the class itself. Okay, I think I answered your question. And Sujit, you asked a great question on last 2 days before. Let me open GitHub link. So this is the proper time to explain your doubt. Why? Because at that time I should not explain that. Why? Because you will not understand. So that's the reason why I haven't explained. So here you asked me this doubt, right? So you said you have some kind of difficulty in understanding this concept, like what is happening here. So we know that I've told you that this open is a function, right? Open is a built-in function available in Python. So here I'm opening a file and I am assigning it. I am assigning this function call to a variable called data. So in general, what will happen? So here also you can see. Let So fine. We know a function called len, right? So if I assign the function called len to any variable, then the total number of elements which are present inside that list will be stored inside my variable, and I can just print that variable. That's it. Similarly, if I assign any function call to a variable, so suppose if a function is returning an integer or string means, I can simply print that variable. But here, I am assigning a function call to a variable, but I am calling methods from the with the help of this variable. I am saying data dot read line. I am saying data dot read. How is this possible? So I think that was the doubt of Sujit. So actually that's a great doubt. Actually he's thinking in the proper way. That's a great doubt. I'm just assigning a function call to this variable, but how can I call a read method from the function call? Right. So here the answer to this question is this open method is returning a object. Okay, it is not returning a number or string. This open method is this open function. You can call it as either function or object. It's up to you now. So both are exactly same. So this open is a function, built-in function, which is returning a object. Now we know the meaning of object, right? So whenever I assign the function call of open method to any object, here data is my object. Now a object is getting stored inside my data variable. So this data is a object now. Like that, we know that if we are having an object means we can call all the methods from that object. That's what I am doing here. So I have a method called read. I'm calling that method with the help of object name. That's what we did so far, right? We are so in the background, consider what is happening. So imagine like this: we have a class called ABC, and we are returning the object of ABC in this open method. So whatever the functions which are present inside class ABC, I can access them with the help of this data variable now. So this data is a object now. It's not a normal variable. Why? Because this open function is returning a object, and as it is an object, I can access all the methods which belongs to that object. So that's why I can access data.read, data.read line, data.read lines, data.write, data.close, data.seek. Okay. So I need to explain about objects before explaining what is happening here. So that's why on that day I haven't explained about this concept. I think Sujit, you are getting my point here now. Okay, if it is some other normal function call means, so function calls like len type, they will return some value or some string. That's it. We cannot perform all those operations on them, but we can perform all these operations on this data variable. Why? Because this open function call is returning a object, which makes data variable a object, and I can access all the functions which belongs to my object. So like this, it is working internally. Okay, today we have seen a lot of concepts. Okay, do we have any confusions? Okay, if you have any kind of confusions also, then you can simply watch the repeated video. I mean the recorded video. Of course, we can take input from the user in inheritance. I will explain that on Monday again. Yeah, Sujit, you are welcome. So Sekhar is asking a question. If I mention, so Sekhar, I'm having little bit confusion with your question, but I think you are asking me that can I say A of B here? If this is your question, if you want to say A of B, then you need to make sure that this class B is present on the top of class A. Why? Because Python is an interpreted language. So I will change this code once again. And B should not be inheriting A. So if this is the scenario means you can inherit class B in class A also. Okay. Let me roll back to previous condition. I think that was your question. And in case while creating object, I am just creating object for class B. And Sekhar, this is not a inner class. B is not a inner class. You don't have to say A dot B like this here. B is not an inner class. It is a separate class which is inheriting class A. That's the point here. Okay. So whenever I create an object for class B, I can access all the methods from class A also. That's what we discussed today. Okay, I think I answered your question. I'm having a little bit confusion with your question. Fine. Okay, you are saying that okay, which means I think you understood the point, right? Okay, fine. I think I have answered everyone's question. Watch the repeated video once again. And on Monday, we will discuss about inheritance and polymorphism. With that, our concept of object-oriented programming will be completed. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording.